figure out what's on that disc.
They've been framed for a crime they didn't commit.
Everybody who touches that thing gets busted.
Now, all they can count on is each other.
I got an idea.
Okay, let's nail him.
Never seen a boy to do a woman's job.
You're not good enough to be us.
Yeah, maybe I'm not, but we are.
Hunters, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, September 15th at theaters everywhere.
So what do you think? I crash your place tonight?
What is it with this guy?
His parents missed Woodstock and he's been making up for it since.
I had this thing with like a toothbrush because I had this backstory that his mom and dad were horrible, so he always carried his toothbrush because he never knew where he was going to sleep. And that became like a thing. And I love the fact that you could bring anything you wanted to that kind of experience, and they would weave it into something.
Yeah, sure.
He's such a young actor. And I watched that performance, I was like, oh my God, what was I doing? I was just chewing scenery left and right. And I have this theory about acting that energy is electric to watch. And
boy, do I have a surprise for you.
Danger excites me, but I can't fully enjoy it when I smell like beer and body odor. Greetings and salutation, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Talk Hard. Hope your Tuesday is going well, and it's totally unacceptable to not have SQUEEKA in that top row. Let's fix that right off. Yeah, Tuesday can't be complete without some talking hard. So yes, let's do it. Hackers. Wow, a 1995 cult favorite. And yes, folks, we have some newbies in the house. That's right. First time for IRONCASTER. First time for our lovely guest, ARWYN of AVALON. So we will have a complete eclectic take on this film for sure. So, but before we get started though, LOKI, my brother, this is one of those that when it came out briefly that ARWYN hadn't seen it, and you were immediately on lockdown mode of no, we not only need to get her locked in to see it with us, we need to get it on the schedule right away. So, yeah, good work, my friend. Good work.
It's a great movie. It's dated as hell, but it's still a great movie. And it's fun, and it's one of those just lose yourself for an hour and 45 minutes and have some laughs and have some fun. And honestly, who didn't put their FBI tracker that was, keeping track of you in high school on like a list of people that, they'd call, prank call. Oh yeah. Everybody did it, including their principal. Hello. Oh, I want to wrap you in latex. How do they get this number?
Yeah, it is full of all sorts of crazy 90s shenanigans. IRONCASTER had said in our private tweet, like, this is full of every bad, I think you said bad 90s tropes imaginable. So is that, you stand by that, my friend?
All right, so I guess to kind of get into it, this is what I'm kind of, after watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like all the bad stuff I remember about the 90s.
We will unpack that more, I am certain. SQUEEKA completely disagrees. She loves this film. She was like, I could in the SQUEEKA world that you guys get, you get to come and visit us on Tuesday and get a little taste. But for us, we get to interact with her throughout the week. We know she's been doing backflips all week watching this movie. I don't know how many times she's watched it this week, but I feel like she's been in happiness and we've made a smile on her face, and that's all that's good, SQUEEKA.
Just twice. Just twice.
Just twice. All right.
Not counting all the times I watched it before. But yeah, I was the big techie kid in the mid 90s to early 2000s. Like I knew all of the books. Now some of them weren't exact names, but I knew all the books. I knew the interface. Like this was my jam back then. I was a super coder. Oh, this was my thing. This is what I wanted to grow up to be. And well, I'm still working on the grown up part. But I love this movie, even with its cheesy effects and things.
Well, this
Big
was
Red
one,
Book.
Yeah, the Big Red Book. So this one inspired hackers and computer people like yourself, even the guys that have, you know how we had that cult Tremors YouTube channel, guys? We did the Tremors thing. There's a cult hackers channel. They only have like 20 videos, but during the pandemic, they had interviews with the director, Matthew Lillard. They had Fisher Stevens in there. That's their jam, is what hacker people. So yeah, this is that. So I don't know if that surprises ARWYN or not. Thanks for being here tonight and sharing with us your experience.
Oh, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. Okay, I had never heard of this movie. I will say that I had never heard of it, but you know, I have heard people kind of talk about it. So it was like, yeah, I'll pretty much watch anything, you know, once, as long as it's, you know, something that fairly interests me. But here, okay, I think I could tell you just by watching that trailer why maybe it has, like, a lot of people like me who haven't heard of it. The movie does not advertise what the trailer is giving. It is much more cerebral of a movie. You know, you got the trailer, you got hot and Angelina Jolie looking like a Romulan, and she's up there with that hairstyle that was all the rage. And you know, you think you're going in getting an action-packed, you know, Angelina movie, and really that's not it. It's a much more intelligent movie than actually.
He really does look like an alien.
She does. Come on, y'all thought, you know, Vulcan when she first popped up.
If you just look at the beginning of the movie, the first 5 minutes of the movie, where they're raiding the house.
Yeah,
they're going in and raiding the house, and you're like, what in the hell is going on? And then the judge is talking about, you know, all the things that they did. And the camera's like, yoink, yoink, little kid. And you're like, oh.
That hooked me. That was smart. That hooked me. Because I'm like, okay, this is different than I don't know what I thought, but it was different than what I had expected. And it also reminded me of the huge culture that was surrounding electronics at the time, and and all of this, because it was you know, newer. It's not like today where pretty much everyone knows at least how to boot up a computer.
Well, let me add some context to that in a second, but let me say hello to this wonderful chat. Pat S is here. Great to see you, brother. Thanks for that. This lovely mouse lady. She's always here helping us run this amazing place now. We're so cool. Look at Captain Kirk. That's my friend there, man. Awesome. Great to see you, brother. Great. Thanks to you for all your support. Look at DJ Ronnie G throwing in the emojis like a boss. Thank you for that, man. All your membership and support, man. It's awesome, man. He's so cool. Dempsey, he popped in for a minute, said can't stay. I've watched this movie way more times than I rightfully should have. Yeah, Dempsey would definitely right up your alley, man. I can see that for sure. 100%. Yeah, the Kirks are listening while they're in the car. That's always great. There's our lovely redhead Heather chiming in. Significance of energy is the interjectness. Yes, interjectness. Yes. Hack the planet. Yes, hack the planet. / Fred, my friend. Yes, for sure. So
the phone trick worked, by the way. The payphone trick that actually worked back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that. I mean, yes, I've heard it works. It works.
Real Wade, yes, indeed. Snorty is here as well. Tons and tons of folks coming and going. So I'll say this too, just to add some context to what ARWYN.
Jana, sorry.
What's that?
You got to say Jana. Jana's here.
I'm still
Jana
scrolling.
Banana.
I had to scroll past like 5 or 6. Yeah, Princess Leia Rose is here. Hackers isn't just a bunch of teenage hackers, is about teen rebellion. Very good point. Beard's here. Awesome, man. So many folks popping in through here. Appreciate all of you. Yeah, there's Jana.
Hello.
Yeah, awesome. Great to see you. Jana sent me a picture of Princess C, so I got to see the updated picture of the baby girl. So that's awesome. So, but yeah, ARWYN, I think the context is important for this movie. And again, IRONCASTER, you're right. When you're 5 years old, this wouldn't have been a movie that would have hit your radar screen. But for us, because even War Games, we did a show on War Games. War Games was a big deal, but it still wasn't like big to the normies. Like it was still sort of like just for us nerds, and hacking and all of that was still treated as sort of a, I don't know, these frowned upon, like these are criminals, that kind of thing. So them spinning it like an action movie was kind of like a hook, I think. And then when the critics were probably ticked off that they sat to this movie thinking that it might be that, it definitely didn't get well received by the normies. And it's such a strange feel for all the characters for, again, the normie culture of the time. So,
yeah.
Well, the thing is, in watching it, I've got to watch it kind of with sort of two minds. So the context of when this movie came out, trying to kind of, you know, contextualize when it came out, because it's still like I'm you know, the little iron tyke, or, you know, kind of playing with my toys and my little big robots, and some things apparently never changed. But you know, then I'm kind of looking at it now, like coming back to this in 2024 as, you know, big grown man Ironcaster who plays with his toys and his big robots, and I have to kind of like, you know, stop and, you know, ask myself, like, does this movie hold up? Is this a good touchstone for sort of this idea of the internet and the hacker scene of the time? And I think that's what makes it, that's what does kind of make the movie interesting, and from that perspective.
Well, I think for the time, Arwen, I think you touched on this briefly, is we didn't have laptops. Actually, the actors in the movie had to be given like loaner laptops and access to the New York web, whatever that was, which basically at this time was probably just an amalgam of chat rooms. So this was a huge deal from a techie standpoint, kind of like Tron was for me when I'm 11 years old and I'm seeing like, what is a master control? I didn't know what all these terms were. So I think it's like that for a 90s kid too. We're like, wait, what? They have laptops. They can hack into the local TV station. I want to hack into the local TV station. I want to put on hour limits. So yeah.
Well, it is like that, because when you're a hacker, when you're in the computers, like I worked for ISP. I mean, this is what I did in the mid 90s, early 2000s. And so when you see this movie, it's like when a movie references all of your cult classics or all your older movies that you're like, oh, that's a callback to Seven Samurai. Oh, I like how the little Easter eggs and all this movie for this movie. That's what it was for us. Like the books, the way they hacked in, the names, the user faces, even just down to the supercomputer being called Gibson. Gibson's the father of cyberpunk. Like
the Neomancer, right?
Yeah. So it's like,
Necromancer, right?
all of these little tidbits that if you're in that world, it makes, this is my jam. It's like the movie is for me, you know. It's that there's a lot of little callbacks like that may not be understood for people that aren't techie type individuals, not like super techies. I mean, y'all are smart people. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean? Like there's so many little callbacks like that.
I think Loki and I had both confessed to the phone booth shenanigans back when we talked about War Games. So if we haven't been arrested, I'm sure you'll be safe, Squeek, because we both did it too. Like there was a lot of those kind of shenanigans back in the day. So, Copa, you bring up a very good point. Definitely way more solid. We all agree, but definitely a different kind of film, completely different approach. The Net is also a really pretty solid film. I watched that in forever, Fred. Thanks for bringing that one up for sure. So, all right, well, let's let me open this mess up here and kind of get to the shenanigans a little bit.
Can I say one more thing on this?
Absolutely, you go right ahead.
I think what's interesting about this movie is, even though it can almost in some ways be a kitschier side of a 90s movie, it is definitely a good time capsule of what was going on at the time, of that subculture at that time. I think they nailed it with the fashion. Yes, some of it was a little quote unquote extreme, but that's where people were headed. And look at the fashion, look at where we've come today. So all of the check marks are definitely there. And that in one level is why I did enjoy this film. I was like, yeah, this is kind of true to form here.
I'm writing down fashion because I want to get to that more. We have some stuff on screen that people can get. That's kind of, I think about fashion, put that opinion in it. But here's the little kid that we talk about, because the film does a good job, as you guys said, of kind of hooking you a little bit with the big FBI raid, and next thing is a court case and all these shenanigans, and it's like this little kid, and you're like, what is going on? Look at the media frenzy, and then we fast forward to Jonny Lee Miller on the plane 7 years later. So I think that for me, in hindsight, I wouldn't have known. I couldn't have picked. I mean, I've seen Train Spotting, and obviously he starred as Sherlock in Elementary, but other than this movie, I really wouldn't have been able to pick him out of a crowd, even though he'd been in those other 2 movies and shows that I've seen. I'm like, this movie is the one that I remember because I think, like you said, SQUEEKA, I think Loki, did you see this in theaters, brother?
Yes.
Yeah.
This made him to the point where when you saw him in anything else, you were like, oh, zero cool hackers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's how I feel. And I don't know if it's it'll stigmatize him for you guys that are new to this or not, but we fast forward to one of my favorite scenes is him hacking into the TV station and just with such glee. ARWYN, you have to admit, if you'd known that you could have done this when we were young, you'd been like, listen, I'd rather watch Outer Limits too.
Yeah. Everything that these kids were doing, I'm like,
I'll point out he did this the smart way too. He didn't hack in. He called them. He called the TV station and was like, "Hey, security guy, can you read me off that little number? This is Van Halen. You know, can you read me off the little number that's on the back of the modem? Oh, thank you."
Yeah, Mr. Kawasaki's going to have my butt if you don't give me that number. And I'm just yeah.
So the reason that modem had a phone number is it was a dedicated service line. Just a little fun, weird.
Right. So if you guys remember War Games, when he has the giant telephone thing on it, he's trying out different phone numbers. He's just looking for the actual modems. So Zero Cool is just like, no, we'll cut out the middleman. We'll call them up and they'll just give me the phone number. And that's exactly what happens. Yeah.
With a 56K BB modem.
You know, I just those sunglasses he's wearing. It's that stands out in my mind as something like being kind of in school at the time, into the mid 90s, going into the late 90s. Like that was the style. Everyone wore sunglasses just like this because it was cool and edgy.
And then the Matrix came out, and that changed everything.
Yeah, so the glasses...
And then all they did is just throw on a trench coat.
The glasses went from the Top Gun glasses to... Then they tried big, goofy plastic glasses, because I had a white pair with had Gumby on them and stuff. And then...
Do you remember the Ring? Do you remember, like, the Geordie visor sunglasses?
I didn't like the Geordie visor, but yeah, that was a thing, too. And then there were these. Then there were these where the lenses are actually very small relative to a normal lens. And then the Matrix came. So that's so for those of you at home, they're not old enough to understand sunglasses from back in the era. In my sweet spot, that was how it worked for us. So yeah.
You know, it's an odd little touchstone of just how culture changed over that course of that decade. And you don't even think about
hats and neckties. When you watch watch movies with neckties, and you're like watching, like they have little tiny knots and big knots and knit and not knit, fat ones. That's why people are obsessed with
70s.
Yeah, people are obsessed with Trump because he doesn't tie his tie kind of like by any normal standard now. He ties it so it's exceedingly long. So it's just that all of these kinds of things are definitely time capsules for sure. So. SQUEEKA, do you have any other confessions before we leave this secret? Did you ever hack into a TV station I should know about? Just no one else is out there listening. Just so you know.
Not a TV station, but I will say that I came by my nickname Mouse in the mid 90s because I could get in quiet and I would leave a tiny or no trace. Like, yeah, my nickname goes back way far.
All right. Here we go, folks. Some more origin stories. Wants to call the Pope on a payphone. Cool, DJ Ronnie G. Cool. Oh, we got a new video. Thank you very much. Always enjoy that. Always. Let's see. Another thing about the 90s tech is how many of us could barely afford a mobile phone. Yeah, there really were pagers and beepers at this point. Yeah. I think I got a mobile phone through my job. But it was still like there were all sorts of rules about like who you could call, when you could call, usage. You had to mount on your numbers. It was very, very expensive. So,
and it was like a brick.
I was going to say that. Didn't finish my thought. Yeah, it was like massive.
No, hello.
Yeah, I get the backpack phone, man.
My portable phone receiver.
It was after the backpack phones and those giant ones, but it would be like the size of my. I thought like a Samsung Note is what I had, the big one. It was like that, but it would be more like 2 inches thick. It was massive. It was this huge thing. It was awful.
It was also the age of like the Nokias, those indestructible Nokias and things. I first started rolling out.
Very cool. Hey, that's a good point. Cap's talking about Max Headroom was instrumental in the glasses thing a little bit for sure. 100%. Good call.
Your choice of beans, chicken, beep, or pork.
Oh, so good. They're going to put that in theaters this month, by the way. Back to the Future 2. So then we go to school. We have our first interaction. Angelina Jolie, our resident Romulan, which I think, by the way, ARWYN is absolutely brilliant. Like, dear Lord, that's a great call. Like, it is a kind of an odd feel for how to describe her to people. But yeah, that would work.
I mean, she's still beautiful as can be, but that was the edge. That was that kind of short, choppy, hasn't been brushed. I mean, and it's just like, Romulan, you know?
I don't know. I mean, to me, she's still in that kind of ugly duckling phase where she's almost there, and you know where she's gonna go, but like she's just not there yet. You know, 2 or 3 plastic surgeons away.
What was it? 2 years later, she's like all over Billy Bob Thornton on camera, where you're like, honey, get a room. I'm a teenager, and I'm like, get a room. What did that guy have on? Panthers?
She's made some hard choices in her life. Let's just.
So you guys do know that after this movie, she marries the lead actor, Jonny Lee Miller.
Look at the silence.
Look at the silence in the panel. No one knew. See, yes,
I knew, but
the first husband, for 3 or 4 years was the lead actor of this. I always think that was kind of weird. So look at that, Joan True, my fellow Romulans. Very cool. Thank you, DJ Ronnie. You've been a member for so long. Appreciate you, man. You're so awesome.
You just see her in the Romulan, like, checkerboard suit.
Yeah.
With that haircut.
Another weird nerd fact is the first SMS message didn't even start until 1992, 3 years before this movie came out.
Oh, okay.
Was the first text message.
So we're still not with fashion yet. We have to be able to have serial killer in the mix. There we go. Okay, so we're getting. We have to be able to get to the point where we can have enough of them on screen. We can discuss the crazy.
A Dega outlaw in the 90s.
Serial killer in this movie is like, what if
y'all just got
serial killer in this movie is like, what if we took Pauly Shore and we made him more obnoxious?
So again, there are Matthew Lillard. He's probably been one of the more outspoken about this movie, where he had auditioned and he kind of befriended the director, and he was the one that was doing the read-throughs as they were doing casting. They ultimately were asking about the lead, but he ended up not getting that part. And so he just felt like as long as he was allowed to just kind of keep going. And that's what they did. He just kind of that's why I said I kept that little clip in the intro from one of the interviews he did where he's just talking about, I was allowed to just kind of chew up scene, just kind of keep going and going and going. And they never kind of wrangled me in. So that's how we got there.
You're never going to forget those glasses. Everyone, it was all about the sunglasses.
Well, those glasses were very odd. Those were not common in the 90s even. Those were pretty odd still. I don't think those were, you guys mainstream the SQUEEKA, I don't think those were really wide out there a ton. I mean, there were some people had them, but
steampunk before steampunk.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, like I said, this was when cyberpunk first got it started rolling. So you saw a lot more of the different sunglasses, and I'm not talking about the cool heart-shaped ones they got nowadays, but these rounder ones, the long flat ones, the Geordie LaForge style where it's just a big long line.
I think the one thing that we can touch on it more as this movie goes on with the fashion element, because this movie doesn't really have a fashion statement per se. It's just doing all sorts of crazy things. So
it's people dressing as people would really dress. Not everyone's. That is the one thing that has always bugged me about movies. And even at the time when I was watching them, I'm like, we don't dress like that. Some movies, it's like, come on, y'all. If we were all wealthy, we might dress like this. This movie dressed like people really dressed.
See, right there. See that cat shirt? ARWYN used to have that shirt and wear that all the time.
Wait, you said used to?
SQUEEKA still do.
I was about to say used to.
I was going to say, you said used to? I'm like, wait a minute. She's going to come on camera and have it on.
He's probably got it in different colors even.
He's my favorite character, y'all. He is.
I knew it. I knew it.
She got a backup copy.
One in black, one in red.
So you guys speak to my theory on the costuming. What they nail with the costuming is this circle of people usually didn't have much money. Obviously, serial killer is literally moving from apartment to apartment. Like he literally has nowhere to go. This is a lot of folks that would get their stuff from thrift stores, and then that evolved into the thrift store culture where people like thought it was cool to get their clothes from thrift stores. So hence the reason, kitty cat shirt guy and the guy who has like more of like, I don't know what it says. Like it's like a sword and a demon skull type thing on his shirt. Like that's kind of
probably a callback to He-Man because it was big at the time.
Hat backwards. I mean, just all this kind of stuff was like that that was kind of how a lot of people were when I don't want to say counterculture exactly, but some of it was on purpose. Some of it was just it's kind of how it was. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the fashion too goes back to what Slasher Fred was saying about the teen rebellion. It's like we're not going to wear our polo shirts and slacks and the way that they used to dress in the 70s. Like they're good. This is all about individual style and how they want it to be and kind of what fits their personality. And so it's very individualized per person how they're going to dress.
Agreed.
I agree with that. I literally, that was kind of my identity in high school for sure. At the end, for sure. That was still a little bit long before this, but yeah, I definitely, if it was going to be Ocean Pacific and that type of stuff, I was in the 100% opposite direction with that. I didn't want to be a part of any of that kind of stuff. Arwen's got her boyfriend with a members only jacket. I don't know.
What's a members only jacket?
That black leather jacket.
Just look it up. You would know what it is the moment you saw it.
Oh, everybody had them back in the 70s and the 80s.
The grunge. Let's see. Sorry, you clicked the wrong one. The grunge guys wore flannels, Seattle's. Like those shirts were cheap. Agreed.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for second?
I did the grunge thing. I liked the grunge look. That was more like the angle I was. I hated that it become a trendy thing, and then I kind of dipped out. Like I don't want to look like everybody else. So, smiley faces and howling. London fog. Yeah. We're spot on, everybody. Good job. All right, we got to jump through his revenge moment where he sets the sprinkler system. And yeah, the Romulan look is definitely a good identificator. Oh, she had the ears. We would be 100% in this scene as well. Again, cue the confession music, Loki. SQUEEKA, do you hack in any sprinkler systems we should know about just among friends? I mean, just
dun dun dun.
These are all hypothetical. Like I said, I have questions after all this. So, and all of my questions are hypothetical. So all the answers will be hypothetical too. So
I will make one confession. I changed my incompletes at the Southwest Texas. That's all I'm gonna say.
Damn, that would come in handy. That would have come in so handy.
Yeah, I did a lot of Ferris Bueller type shenanigans. Remember that scene in Ferris Bueller where he's changing grades? I did a lot of that kind of stuff, but more for attendance because I didn't want my mom to be called that I'd skipped school again because I'd already gotten accepted to college. So that last 3 months or so of high school, I did nothing. And it was like, I don't want to get busted. I didn't want to deal with the phone calls anymore of like, hey, he's not in school again kind of nonsense. But my goal, and I've said it many times, was to try to create a fake student file. And I almost completed it. If I had any technology to forge a birth certificate in 1988, I would have been able to do it. So
look, I have never been tech savvy. I am that person that press any key. Where's any key? I am truly that person. So this was all very fascinating to me. And, again.
Oh, the writing style on that chalkboard, man. I wrote like that. Oh.
This right here?
Yes!
100%. 100% people. Look at how he did. He's like a little anarchy symbol over here on the left.
Such an angsty time,
It was. Well, I grew up in like Roperville, like boots and cowboy hats and country music 24/7. And then I went to Southwest Texas, the party school, and it was like, and then I found computers, and it was like, wait a minute. Oh, it was game on.
You met your jam, SQUEEKA. You met your jam. Absolutely.
And I think the counterculture thing is really a great way to explain all this. Look at how she's up on the desk. And I have no idea how to describe what serial killer has on with this crop shirt thing going on. And he's in pigtails today. And
it's big theater on their own vomit, man.
Well, this isn't a typical high school, though, either. This is actually a magnet school that they're in. This is like an advanced high school. So it's not
high IQ kids, right?
Yeah, it's not just your typical average high school that they're at right now.
I like that
think
they
she
tried
seemed
to
like
make the little black girl the normal girl. Like, look, she's like up, she's taking it
But
serious.
she's
She's writing normal.
cute.
Yeah, look at her trying to like,
Cute.
you know, she's the serious suck up in the class.
She's not being a troublemaker.
And what's with this dude's pink blanket, Loki? What's up with this over here? I have no idea. I didn't even notice that until now. Like, this dude's got like a little pink blanket. It's Linus is over here in the corner. I don't know.
That's his cardigan. Cardigans were big in the 90s. That's a cardigan. So if anybody remembers those long green cardigans that Kurt Cobain used to wear, it's a pink cardigan.
Well, I'm a teacher. I still wear cardigans.
I was gonna say I love my cardigan.
evolved
It buttons up the
into
front. They're hard to find now.
It's
I actually
more
have
common for women though, but I rarely nowadays will see a teenage aged guy wearing a cardigan. But I don't know. Maybe they'll have a comeback.
That was a big thing in the 90s because of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and all that.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. A lot of skaters and headbangers wore cardigans, at least for a while.
Pat S. I'm
due for a comeback.
Pat S. claims he had a
make
fake
a
ID
comeback
so
if
he
ARWYN
could
said so.
vote. We believe you, Pat. We really, really do. That's why you needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fake high school ID so I could drink, but we won't talk about that.
Well, that's what we were implying, Arwyn. Thanks for your confession.
Okay.
Though. We knew what Pat wrote meant.
I had a
I'm
fake ID
floating
in
on
college
it.
too because I was only 17 when I started.
Could you believe I never needed one? I mean, at 6'1" in my freshman year of high school, they were like they just gave me whatever I wanted. It was the most wonderful thing. They were like, send in Loki. Why? Because you won't even have to say anything. You'll just take it up there, put it on the counter, pay for it, and go. They won't even card him. And they didn't either.
I bet ARWYN still gets carded.
Not anymore. But it's okay. I don't buy a lot of booze. They know me at the local place where I buy my wine, so they've already carded me. It's okay.
So you have one of those little gift card thing, little you buy 10, you get the 9, buy the 10, you get one free thing, little stampers, little kitty cat stamps.
She's on the VIP wall.
It's a program they started. They put and to advertise on the wall. They put her face.
Oh my god!
They keep a 55-gallon box in store just in case she drops by.
The ARWYN special.
The ARWYN special.
God, y'all, I gotta tell them this.
And then people go in and they're like, "Have you ever ordered? Has anybody ever?" Oh, just one lady. She comes in back in every once in a while. We keep it just for her.
They sell one a month. So the person goes, "I'll try what she tries, just to see if it's any good or not."
No, it's already reserved.
Anyway,
we should talk about this at some point. Maybe Arwyn, remind me, Arwyn, put this on our radar screen for a Pops Angels show because I think 21 Jump Street retrospective might be a good idea because it's definitely a time capsule, definitely the equivalent thereof of this for that show. Agreed. Pretty good. So, yeah,
it's a fruity bouquet of a barefoot Moscato with a fruity bouquet. That's
very fruity bouquet.
Here's a serial killer for you right there, baby. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my god.
They wound this dude up and just let him go. So good. So much fun. Yeah,
I don't know. I was the theater major. He doesn't faze me.
Can we talk about the guy on the left side there?
This over here?
Yeah.
Right.
Is that the lizard dude?
Oh my gosh.
Is it a decoration? I think it's a decoration.
It's a decoration.
Yeah, it's a decoration, dude. It's not a person.
I know there was a dude that got like reptile. He got tattoos everywhere and became a reptile.
Actually,
I mean, with this movie, I can believe that was a guy.
I thought it too, Ironcaster. It's just the first time viewing curse.
It's just something their prop department went and found at a thrift store when they were shopping for serial killers' outfits. I'm telling you. How much for that mannequin with the fishbowl belly? And they're like, he'll take it.
Ramon's looking fly. He's looking good.
This kid's got like literal old school overalls on.
It's Dustin from Stranger Things is basically who he is.
He still has to have a retainer.
Ramon.
The Velvet Underground is the shirt. Oh, so old school right there.
Yep.
The code. The hacking. Oh, they're ready to get to this guy. The shenanigans. Oh, another FBI bust. Oh, because they convinced the kid that he had to do a legit hack to be in the club, basically, right? So.
Yep.
And he decided, I'm going to go for the biggest, baddest target around, the one they say can't be done.
Yeah. And then we get this guy who shows up, Nikon, because he has a photographic memory. Brief little interaction there. And then this guy. So, all right. What do you guys got to say about this before I give my take? Because, yeah.
Well, from a story level, I really liked how they kind of pulled all the kids together. I thought that was kind of neat. It was interesting. It intrigued me. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. It wasn't just about that one kid. It was kind of about all of them as a collective, and it got me more invested in the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think it worked for the time, right?
His character is he's someone who's kind of meeting on their level. He is someone who kind of runs by the same code, the same creeds as them, but he's decided to become selfish. He's basically the lone wolf among all these other wolves who going among the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a term for that from the 90s. It's called a sellout poser.
Mm-hmm. He's the hacker that went to go work for the company to go catch them. So he betrayed them and everything they believed in.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
None of the code of honor samurai nonsense he talks about means a damn bit of difference because
he sold out, man.
He sold out to the corporations, man. This is all the shit we bought in the 90s, and now I'm like, what the hell? It's the corporations, man.
Yeah. Oh, man, we're going back to the ARWYN thing. Sam's Club Sangria. Look at the references. You got them all chiming in, ARWYN.
Yeah.
The birth of the internet, for sure. Don't Missing Dial-Up. Yeah, Fisher Stevens from Short Circuit. I don't know, SQUEEKA. What do you... Go ahead.
This is what it was all about for us hackers. You had your bigwigs, the people that worked in the offices, and then you had us. And it was this is our internet. We know more about it. We helped grow into this. You just think you know it because you read some books. No, This is our internet. And this is that weird dichotomy where he thinks, oh wait, hold on, I know this. This is my system. I'm gonna get through here through this. And no. But you have nothing on the connections that we have together as our little hacker group. We don't operate as independently as you think we do.
Yeah, I hated this kid. I hated this guy. I hated this element of the story. I really wish he was either just the business CEO type guy or another hacker that was trying to hack the company and they were outing his plan or something. I hate this sort of like poser story arc. It didn't age well, and it's inconsistent. Because is this? I don't know if this is the scene. Is this a scene where he doesn't want to be called by his name? He wants to be called Plague.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would never happen, right? If he was actually like yeah, there would never happen that way. So,
was someone smelling their own farts?
Yeah. Okay.
She's fine. I want to say that the corporate, that's Tony Soprano, psychologist. I have no idea why she works for this company, but eventually she'll become Tony Soprano, psychologist. She's great. She's fine. I have absolutely no problem with her.
Yeah.
Mario, missing Luigi over here, stopped hobnobbing in Short Circuit and somehow became a hacker in this movie. He's the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, and he's trying to take on the persona of them. Like he's look at me, I'm skateboarding. Oh, look at me, I've got a cool name, and like I know all of these things, and I'm doing VR. Like, look how cool I am.
Poser.
And it's like you're not.
I think that he represents the character in like Ready Player One. They're trying to do the same thing, right, with the poser character, the guy that's running the big corporation. But they're trying to keep more slime on this guy. Yeah.
Lots of slime.
But yeah, Dr. Melfi's still looking all right. She's fine. She's not the problem in this movie. The shenanigans are afoot. No matter where they are, there's always shenanigans. I love it. Yeah, just it's completely insane. By the way, if he has to, if serial killer has to move around from place to place, how on earth does he have so many clothes? Like they seem like they're big like a suitcase with like 3 outfits, but no, he has like a different outfit in every freaking scene. It's completely insane.
Magic.
Yeah, the stupid visit scene, and then again more fashion stuff because we end up now we're getting into the weird side rail of the conversation of the contest, right?
And they're busting out with things like PCI bus and
Yeah.
chip specs and my little heart's a flutter.
They're talking nerd to SQUEEKA. All right,
Like,
so
you're
let me
not
ask-
hot, Angelina Jolie. Go back to your computer. I want to see more.
Yeah, come back when you hit the plastic surgeon.
Look at the crazy outfits and stuff. That was just nuts. Okay,
Come
so
on.
let me ask IRONCASTER because this is your first time seeing this. This is probably so. Again, I already did my piece about Fisher Stevens. Hated on Fisher Stevens a little bit. This is my second least favorite thing for the movie for me. Was we waste a whole bunch of time with the contest thing, and nothing else.
The contest was funny.
No,
the
right.
Contest had some cool, funny stuff going on.
Right. But it's like the flow of this movie is like a start-stop, right? Because we go with like stuff, we get all this hacker stuff, and then we have to stop the story, do the Fisher Stevens subplot, and then come back and do the cool hacker stuff, which we actually enjoy all of this. And then we're going to stop again and have like the FBI guys be the victim of their stuff, and then the Fisher Stevens.
Oh no, not FBI, Secret Service.
Oh,
for whatever reason, it's the Secret Service.
Kind of weird to me.
It's just a mistake.
And the thing is, there's a missed opportunity there where they could have sort of united this to that very beginning of this film, where he could have been the guy who's because he's supposed to be this like in charge of like all this cybersecurity stuff. Our Secret Service guy could have been part of you shutting down Zero Cool. And that could have been like sort of his big rise to power, but there's like sort of a missing element there because honestly, that first couple minutes with like, oh, we're busted a child, I'm like, it honestly, I would have cut that. As as good as it is for setting the mood, it's there to kind of pad time because we're just getting past all that and we don't really need it ultimately.
Well, I think it has a like I think the point of it is it shows you them coming together more for a common cause and like they're avenging this guy, they're getting back at him, and it shows you that building of a relationship because it doesn't want to jump from hey, we're kind of antagonistic towards one another, especially Jolie's character and Zero Cool to look at us all in a phone booth. So I feel like it does that's what the point of the whole interlude, the contest and everything else is revenge against this guy, showing off a few skills, tripping some of those, techie buttons, and then showing them building together.
Well, actually, kind of to pull off what you were thinking there, SQUEEKA, I think actually kind of now I'm thinking about it since you kind of brought that up, there is a way where it does kind of work because that opening scene does kind of show how this film is showing that there's the kids these days that are just coming up with all this having access to this technology are getting crazy, doing wild, crazy stuff. This is unfettered, untested, unregulated. This all has to be kind of looked after. Kids with this technology can be dangerous. There is something there to it, but I still feel like we need that extra little bit of linking to this and to here. So I feel like there is that. Like I said, I think there's an opportunity where this guy should have been tied into the origin of Zero Cool and his arrest.
Well, also look who's there. Look who's there with him. What were we saying earlier? He is not one
Our
of
weasel.
them. Whether he's a weasel, he's a sellout. None of them would work with him in any way, shape, or form. But look who's there working with him.
Mm-hmm. True.
Total, complete sellout, poser. He wants to talk to them like he's one of them and act like one of them, but he's not in any way, shape, or form because none of them would sell each other out.
No.
I love all of the stuff that creates the bonding with them all before it gets, you know what I mean? I love all of that part of it. I just kind of come down a little bit of the in between. I think that way I could close the gap. Loki, you help me figure out how to close the gap here. I think that with the black guy, instead of only being the victim during this sequence, I would have liked to seen like raids and stuff or something where they're wrong. He's trying to chase them down or something. It's like this constant cat and mouse thing just kind of misses a little bit, but because we're trying to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. And I think that's why the story got a little over its skis a little bit with the plot part. Cause like the camaraderie of all this is the best part of the movie. Them actually being at risk and the tension part from the Secret Service and not the FBI is not always connected well. Like it, you know what I mean? They kind of put it on the shelf for a minute and then they kind of come back to it when they want to. So
no, I'd agree with that. You see a couple of things where they're like hacking from the top of a building or something like that. But if you would have seen them trying to like do a raid and end up in like a factory and have no idea where they're at when they're on the roof or something, or they're on the roof of the next building and they're watching as they're doing their thing, that I could have totally, it probably would have made it better. But
it just would have connected those dots, I think, a little bit better because we need to keep the hacker relationships and dynamics moving forward. Because I think all of this is working well. It's the fact that the one guy, the only reason that this guy's brought into the mix, and the only reason that the feds and all the criminal stuff, it's just we don't have our dots connected quite right, and he's just trying to hide his true identity, right? ARWYN, how are you picking up the pieces to get to this point for you? Because this is your first time.
Actually, I was flowing with it pretty good. I did think Secret Service, what? Okay. But I went with that. I'm like, well, whatever. Okay, Secret Service, suspend your disbelief. Let's go with it. And as far as like, yeah, there were a couple of moments where it was a teeny bit draggy for me. I felt the dots connected, and as far as them doing like their contest in this, to me, it just reminded me, hey, these were kids. These were kids getting embroiled in all this, and they're going to behave like kids, and they're going to be like kids. And, you know, are they really going to realize what's going on? Yeah, they know it, but do they know it? Nah, they're going to, you know, have a contest for a while. They're kids, you know.
See who can pee further.
Yeah, I mean, they were on that little bit of competition with them and with themselves. But no, I followed along pretty good. But I will agree. I think some of it could have been streamlined and tightened, and it would have made for a much better flowing story overall. But no, I was okay with it.
You know,
I wanted to get to speak real quick about this,
go ahead.
this part, but before I do, go ahead, Ironcaster.
Oh, I'm just kind of thinking, like, I think there's like another way they could have taken this movie, but I'm not sure if it's the right way to go, because part of the whole thing with the hackers and sort of that subculture of the whole cyberpunk is a very like corporate espionage sort of angle that this movie in a lot of ways does work really well to lean into. But the problem is we're going into bringing in the government agents, and there's something not quite right where they could have probably tried another draft.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think they've got 2 or 3 plot. They got a little over their skis a little bit with some of the plot elements getting away from them, and they try to wrangle them back in very quickly in this last half to third of the movie. But I don't think they missed the mark totally. I think there's just pieces of it's just not as tight as it could have been. I do want to get Squeeka your opinion too, because you are my resident hacker mouse. What do you think about these graphics? How do we do on these graphics?
Well, they're not made with computer graphics. It's like stop motion, rotoscoping. They didn't use any computer graphics for this movie. He didn't want to because it was flat.
I like the concepts of it though.
Yeah, I do too. And I like the fact that it ties in together. Like, we're going to see an image of the worm later, which is actually just one. And you can kind of see it in the background here, this thing happening. Those are actual fractals. And some of these equations are fractal equations. I'll sit in my nerd chair now.
You're doing fine. I like it. I think, and I like that they did a lot of like fun imagery and stuff that they tied together for the normies. So I think all of that worked really, really well.
Well, and I think them using like the picture of the boat and like the formula there, like I feel like using some of that and those formulas and the way it's designed lends to just the essence of, yes, this is a mind game, so to speak.
Right. Yep. And then you kind of have like their little scam. Again, this is a little bit of where we're playing a little fast and loose with sort of like the sneakers element. I think Copa brought up a good point where sneakers did this so much better because they were trying to focus more on espionage type stuff and that kind of stuff. Now the hackers who have been kind of novices and they've kind of bonded together really well, they're the ones going to do this. So it works and it's a fun little ride. And again, every scene they have different all these crazy guys. We didn't even mention these guys. Holy cow. Talk about crazy.
Yeah.
Just tons of just zany, crazy outfits and stuff. But this is the 90s, man. For those, sorry, what'd you call yourself? The Iron Tyke? The Iron Tyke? This was it. When you
No, it's apparently if you become a hacker, you have to roll like on a random chart, like what sort of clothes you're allowed to wear. Like I have to put blonde stripes in my hair, and I have to wear geisha makeup.
I think this is just a 90s thing, man. I assume, Cap, you've never seen this before, so or if you have, what your thoughts are, because we'd be about similar in age. So I remember being a little bit old for this. Like it was like kind of my thing, but not really my thing. I was definitely more into like the war games and stuff like that. And Matrix, of course, was huge. But the clubbing elements and the wardrobe stuff I thought was actually pretty good. If you were in college during that early 90s, the feel, all of this. And again, that outside of counterculture punk kind of evolved into this. Again, hence the term cyberpunk. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, a lot of this was already there. I mean, for example, cyberpunk was the role playing game that sort of like named the genre. Had come out of like the late 80s and those early 90s. This was in the water. This was in the ether. Didn't just come out of nowhere.
Right. Right.
Well, if you need an analogy, it's almost akin to the VTubers of today's era. YouTube's been around a while. These things have been around for a hot minute, but now we're seeing this surge of people that have to have their own personas. They make their own mark, and they're elaborately colored, or they have their own kind of idea or personality or quirk. And that's what hackers were in the 90s. Like this global world opened up to them, and they're like, I'm going to be this unique character. Like I'm known for this particular makeup and this kind of style.
Speaking of VTubers, did you happen to see that news where Iron Mouse has become the top subscribed person on Twitch? Like the record all-time highest subs.
Yay!
She's a sweetheart.
So before I get too far into this scene, I love the fact that we sent the cast away for 3 weeks to learn how to rollerblade. So the most
the perks of the job, man.
I mean, the most training and most time was spent on prep for this film, evidently, was rollerblading. I found that to be fascinating. Like of all the things, they got their little laptops, their little chat room access. That and rollerblading was the prep for this movie. It's fascinating. So, did that take you back a little bit, ARWYN? ARWYN, did that take you back a little bit? So much
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. It did. And I was happy to see it in there. I really was.
Rollerblades are pretty old school reference for sure.
Bit of memories.
I wanted to get our resident. There we go. Is this kind of a dated thing here, SQUEEKA? The eye thing?
No, I never knew anybody that wore that thing.
I don't either. I didn't remember anybody having anything like that. I thought it was just very strange to stick in here. I don't know the timetable and the reference there for that. I'm missing something. Is how I felt.
I mean, it's Hollywood. They just thought it looked futuristic.
Not always, obviously, Cap. I mean, it was common, but that was how you got caught. You leave it's kind of like the what was Home Alone, the something wet bandits. It was like, you leave too many signatures and eventually they know which ones you did. So Pat says he had a power glove. I don't want to hear about your power glove, man. I don't know what you're doing over there.
It's so bad.
We don't talk about the power.
Lucas.
But yeah, the graphics and stuff were kind of fun. I enjoyed the fun of it for its time. I think I agree with what SQUEEKA said. You know, just the idea of all of this is better on paper and it executed well for the time. But in hindsight, you're like, okay.
Yeah, the spinning phone booths annoyed me. I'm sorry. They did. I get what they were going for, but I was like, geez, alert.
Well, see, the thing is, I think what they needed to do is sort of invert those two. So you have that the image of all the like swooping around the internet, and all the cool element that becomes the more dominant image, and you have sort of faded in just them in the phone booth, like you and then you get rid of the background so you can get just them, and then just it makes for a better image. Like this with just like Angelina Jolie.
I was like, come on now. But you're right. I think that would have been, that was just one of those things that could have been just tightened up a little bit, a little more thought. They would have nailed it. I see what they were going for, and I appreciate that. So, but yeah.
I just feel like they didn't really have, because I mean, first off, I don't know, the file is not even called trash. It's called garbage. I don't remember the files ever being called garbage. I thought they were always called trash. Things like that.
Or foo. In Unix systems, they were called foo.
Yeah, foo. Yeah, there's all sorts of things. Geologic research. These are like actual files in the computer system. Yeah, I don't know. What'd you say, Arwen? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just well, maybe some of these terms were created just for this movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't like that. I don't want things created for the movie. I want things to be more legit, right? I want things to be more.
Well, there never was a Gibson supercomputer either. They never called it Gibson.
Well, that was an homage thing of calling it Gibson for sure. So
Walter Gibson.
So yeah, this was playing out pretty well for them to get the plague. Oh, okay, and then Secret Service, I guess. I always love dated things like this, though. These are my favorite moments where I'm like, oh, look at that. Yes, that takes me back. And the sweater. Dear Lord, the sweaters. The sweaters in this movie are fun. I think Serial Killer has a Lou Reed sweater in one of the scenes. I don't know which one's which. But the fact that he comes on at the end is the best. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, that was great. I was like,
I kind of feel like God.
Yes. Fuji Film. Next to Marines. Yes. Maxell and TDK. That's great. That's great time references right there, though. That's pretty on point.
Or how it's just kind of funny with the scene how it's like a hacker comes on screen and he says, "Oh yeah, no, this other guy's the bad guy. He totally did all this stuff," and you basically they're like, "Well, we are the bumbling oafs, and he is the main character, so we have to trust him."
I think it's great. It makes me laugh when I watch it because it's just you're
right.
Well,
we'll just ignore all the other felonies you committed in the process of clearing your names.
Of course.
Little brain rocket trying to sneak. This is his really bad disguise to get away.
Colonel Sanders. I was like, what is happening here?
I actually wanted to see Arwen's face when she saw this scene. Ironcaster, you had to be like, what on earth is happening?
I took his off. I really did.
I should watch it like, that's actually not a bad plan. I should be taking notes.
I agree, but I hope, Ironcast, if you ever find yourself in that situation, please do not do this. Be a little more courageous.
Look, I'm just saying, if it comes to that, I might borrow Loki's look.
Okay, that's better. This guy is.
I don't know what you guys would think. I don't know about comeback, but I could say this. I don't know why there's not a marketing ploy.
That does it right there. It does it. You
can't
tell who I am now.
Oh, yep, he's in disguise. Wait, where'd Loki go? Okay, never mind.
It's the master of disguise.
Yes. I don't know about cassettes and floppies, stuff like that, but I will say I don't know why there's not a marketing ploy to like sell you like a micro SD card, but it looks like a floppy on the card, like you buy the flop. You know what I mean? Like marketing wise, those kinds of things can be done well.
I actually have heard some talk about cassettes making a comeback. People have kind of taken a notice of them more, especially with all the stuff going on with like, well, you don't actually own your media, so like you got to go ahead and pick all this stuff up. Remember when Sony and the whole Universal stuff?
Cassette.
Yeah,
or
no, I
Cobra
agree.
Kai.
For Cobra Kai. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, I got
Oh.
the. Oh yeah, I got the full box.
Remember Back to
set
the
thing.
Future, right? They dropped the Netflix edited version by accident, the TV versions and stuff.
Ooh la
accident.
la.
All these scenes had been changed and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah, I
Ooh
wish
la
I
la.
still had my Walkman.
But I'll
for
say
sure.
I still have a hard time moving physical media. I still have probably a closet. I say I got like 30 or 40 up on the eBay store, and still just don't move more than like 1 or 2 a month at the most. It's really rough. So yeah.
Did ARWYN say Walkman?
I did. I had a Walkman.
I
Oh,
still
yeah.
have my Walkman.
Several Walkman. Yeah, I wish I still had mine. SQUEEKA.
The
I
yellow
really
one,
do.
yeah, the little old yellow Walkman. I have that one.
Oh, I loved it, man. I was constant. I was keeping my, we practically kept batteries, just the stock so high because we purchased so many batteries for our Walkman.
The Game Boy. Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's the batteries for the clicker?
Batteries. You took the batteries out of the clicker? That was really a faux pas. You don't do that. So
Well, it was like the VHS, remote that no one ever used. I figured no one would miss them.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
they got the cable remote. They don't need the TV remote.
I hated the remote when I was at every 5 minutes. Hand me the remote, boy. Damn remote. Boy, you don't know how lucky you've got it. When I was your age, we had to walk up TV and change it manually. Yeah, you had 2 effing channels. I Love Lucy and who gave a shit what was on the other channel?
News, probably.
The worst was when the president was on, because you only had 5 channels tops. That was the most. You had the 3 main channels. You could get 2 on UHF. If you held the antenna right, you might get the other UHF channel. But if the president was on, that was on at least 3, and you were screwed. So then you had to listen to all the adults complaining because they didn't want to watch the crap that you wanted to watch on the UHF channels, which was like monster shows, sci-fi, horror, or hardcore comedies that they didn't like or something. So yeah, there we go. Hackers is an odd one. I'm glad that we were able to get ARWYN's take. So let's start with you, lady. Where what were some of the highs and lows for you on this film?
Okay, one of the highs was the story. The story was engaging enough for me to stay involved and want to find out exactly how this thing ended. And that is of utmost importance. I don't care how pretty a movie is or how acclaimed. If it's not a story I'm interested in, too bad, so sad. So I did enjoy that. I did love seeing nods to the fashion. I did love seeing, how at the time there was just such a major part of 90s culture. I do have some hypothetical questions, though. Is this movie, because I know nothing about, I couldn't tell you how accurate this movie was, any of the tech, anything, because it's just not my world. That kind of stuff melts down around me. But is this movie hypothetically viable? Some of the things that went on, are they viable? Could it have happened? That's why I say hypothetical, y'all. I don't want to get nobody in trouble. But at the end of the day, I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. I would watch it again. Let's put it that way.
To answer your question, yes, some of it, like the tone dialing, that was viable. Hacking into a direct ISD inline, like that guy getting the number off the back of a modem, that was a dedicated service. It was a service dedicated network, something like that. And these were special phone numbers assigned to special modems that had the 128 instead of just the 56K that the home ones had. So those were dedicated high-speed modems back before we had the T1s and the high-speed internet and the fiber we have today. So some of it, yes, very realistic. The way the mainframe looked, some of the hacking that you saw, the graphics and things, no, it was very static. The screens were green screens most of the time, and a lot of it was built on not images like that, code. You hacked into a Unix systems code. Back then, Windows was even hackable because it was written in Visual Basic. So you basically memorized the code, hacked into it, rewrote your own code, moved files around. So yes, it's doable. In 100% the way they did it there, not exactly.
Okay.
All the visuals and the smileys and the pirates and the skull and crop, none of that shit.
Yeah, we didn't have fancy images. Like, if anything, if you left a signature or you were goofing around with your friends, you left a little ASCII art, but beyond that, no.
Okay. Cool. Did we lose Pops? Temporarily.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
have
I
too
didn't
many-
want to keep going. If you were gone. So.
I wanted to kind of get a feel for everybody's thoughts, some of the highs and lows and that kind of thing. And I appreciate that, because I think that it is definitely a good time capsule of 90s counterculture, early cyberpunk type stuff. And the friendship circles, like, hanging out in front of a computer screen. I think Squeeka, you can speak to this, right? Hanging out in front of a computer screen, having kind of those kind of friends, all that was probably some of the strongest stuff in this film.
Yeah, we would hang out in the computer lab, and you knew where we were. Like, we would all sit in this one particular corner, or we would kind of take over this one small lab. Like, people knew us, and like if there was somebody missing from your group, they would even be like, "Hey, where's all your people?" And we would have get-togethers where we would all go to somebody's house and have LAN parties, and play video games, play computer games, maybe do a little bit of other activities on the side. But usually it was from the computer networks at the school. But yeah, I mean, we had our group, we had our little people, and we would go, lab to lab. That's kind of what we did.
Ironcaster, you watching this again? Where are you on your rewatch for this?
So this is a movie I feel like I would be comfortable just kind of throwing this on if I can't find anything else, and I can kind of have it on in the background. It's got some great little visual moments where I'm like, yeah, I want to see that cool bit where we're going through the little scale model, like computer innards of the internet, and we've got some crazy dumb hacker names like Serial Killer, Lord Nikon, and other names that feel like I might as well be creating a Sonic the Hedgehog OC on DeviantArt.
They're real hacker-inspired names. That's what the best part of the movie. That's one of the cool things too. Is they actually try to do some of that. So,
and it comes from that sort of that era of the 90s edge, where it's like, it's so edgy. Call me Edgy McHedgy.
Edgy McHedgy. It seems like Ironcaster's cyber name.
Like I feel like it's me, Wildcats with a YZ at the end.
Iron Type.
Yeah,
it reminds me of that era for sort of a lot of the good and the negative. We've got Serial Killer, and he's Shaggy, and
he wasn't Shaggy yet.
Yeah, he didn't get Shaggy. So look at how look. We can diss all his over.
What are you talking about? He's like a serial killer, man.
So he was in this. He went and did Scream. And then he did Wing Commander, which is the worst video game adaptation of a movie ever. He played Todd, Maniac Marshall. And then, yeah.
I will say I've recognized every one of the people in this film.
Like, we got Penn Jillette in the movie.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, Penn from Penn and Teller.
That's right.
I was like, I know all these people. I've seen all these people in other stuff. Every single one of them. So that was a pleasant surprise.
ARWYN, your boy is in what's that Nicolas Cage movie? Where they're in the prison in the sky. Whatever. Con Air. He's in Con Air because as soon as he shows up on the plane in Con Air, he's like, hey! And you're like, oh my God.
Watch that.
I thought we were talking about Thor and Oakenshield.
No. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh my God, he's the exact same character. He was in Hackers.
I loved him. He was my favorite.
I give the movie like a 5 out of 10. I think it's a fun little movie. It doesn't like change the world or anything. It's just it's fine. It's not one it's gonna be high on my list of stuff to rewatch. But we'll go 6. I'll give it a 6.
If it's any consolation, the good thing about a movie like this, folks, and I think Cap, you're saying this right too. It's like a great snapshot in time, right? It is. It's almost always free on like Tubi or Pluto or Freevee. They just kind of keep moving it around, so it's usually free somewhere. So the good news is the studio's getting their little licensing nickels. It means all the cast are getting their residual nickels, and somebody's finding the movie for the first time each day, every day. So that's cool. we did our part here. So, Squeeka, though, you hold this movie in a lot of regard, and I think we know a little bit more why. What are some of the other things that you can tell us about it that makes it special for you?
Well, I'm with ARWYN. Like I like the story, and if for people like me, there are a lot of little Easter eggs hidden here and there. Um, you're like, oh wait, I know what that is. Like I said, with the books that they're calling out and things like that. So, it's just to me, it has that rewatchability. It's a movie from a different time of my life, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that stuff, and I remember being techie, and but at the same time, the story that Arwen was talking about, where it lends to that rewatchability. It's not just for those little small things, those little Easter eggs. It is a good story, minus the phone booth at the end. I really don't like the spinning phone booth. Sorry. I fast forward through that part every time. I'm like, all right, let's get this goes, y'all. But yeah, so it's just because but then again, like I said, I'm a techie. I love this kind of stuff. It's just a different era for me.
All right. So Loki, my friend, what about you?
I love this movie. Squeeka, you probably know better than I do, but in '93, there was this kid that hacked the DoD, and it was all over the news. And I'm sure he went to work for the NSA, but when I was a kid, we were getting all the computer stuff, and I started out on an Apple. Who didn't start out on an Apple?
Me. I started on an IBM.
I upgraded, moved over to an IBM, but the IBM we got, my dad didn't know how to do anything. I won't load the damn program so I can write a paper. Boy, yes, load this. There you go. How do I print? Hit this button.
They started out on a portable computer, and I helped my dad code mainframes for Mobile Oil, like the big, huge rec systems and things like that. So he had one of those old school briefcase-looking laptops where it was like a green screen and a keyboard, and had the weird modem attachment on the side. And I would sit there and help him code. And then we had an IBM compatible PC that we would allowed to like type things and stuff. It didn't have 3.1 loaded. It was just straight DOS. But yeah, I mean, that's what I started. I never had an Apple until I started journalism later, where at the time, newspapers and stuff, because of Apple's GUI, it was better for layouts and newspaper print and things like that. So that's when I got exposed to an Apple. But yeah, I started all out on a Rex mainframe.
And on the old Apple II, you could do art.
Yep.
You could do dots. They'd come out in dots, and you could do art and all this crazy stuff. But I was always more into the hardware. Yeah, I could code, but I always was into the hardware. I took apart that first IBM Head Start computer that my dad bought and put it back together after he lost his mind. Do you know how much that cost? I can put it back together. It was a great time to learn about computers. So we had this movie that was unlike a lot of other movies. And like what Squeeka was saying about the books, when you're recognizing this stuff and you know what they're talking about, and you're like, you can follow that. A lot of people are like, what the heck's a 56 BPS modem? It's bits per second. Never mind. But if you knew your tech at the time, this was the top of the line stuff. Nobody had laptops. So to open up a laptop and see that plasma screen, and you're like, oh, all that was crazy, and it was nuts. And half the shit they pulled off, you'd pulled off before. The whole call thing. Oh, you don't think I did that to my principal more than once? I wanna kiss you up and how did they get the number?
Yeah, we would.
Gloria, call the phone company. I haven't changed my number again.
So I think we talked about the guy who did like the Captain Crunch thing, right? The Captain Crunch whistle, right? Wasn't that part of this too, with the phones and stuff too? So there's a lot of that kind of early hacker type stuff that was kind of fun to live through. And the movie is, I think, like you guys have very accurately described, how that feel of everything. You feel like you're in the 90s. You feel like you're in that world, and all of that, I think, is the strength of the movie. Some of the, I don't know, tension of the movie will, the guy get caught again, and then, I don't know. Still don't know why he's. I always want to say FBI. Now I know he's not, and I'm like, oh, dear Lord. So all of that is where the threads keep it from being a greater movie than it is. But I could say that it was enjoyable to watch. Again, watched it twice over the course of about 10 days. So been good. So yeah. Good pick.
And the operator trick was real too. You would if you hit the phone receiver enough times, you would get the operator, because caller ID had just emerged at that point too. Yep. And so that was a big deal, to get the operator to route your calls so nobody would know who you were calling from.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because they had star 69 yet already, right?
And star 66, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you had to kind of circumvent that if you could. But I was with you, SQUEEKA. We'd use the school stuff, especially because we were good kids. Like, if some of us had straight A's or you did really well, you have access to the back room computers and the back room offices, and that's where you would do some of your hijinks. So
being a teacher's pet paid off. That's
it did. Why it's a friend's benefit, man. So yeah, super cool. So Ironcaster, any regrets? You seem I kind of put you through a lot with this one. Little regrets.
No, I'm just thinking about I'm just trying to wonder what planet Angelina Jolie came from, because it's not Earth.
And it definitely wasn't sharks on the moon either.
Hey Andy, how you doing, brother? ARWYN, I think, hit the head on the head calling her a Romulan. I can't get that out of my head. If we were scrolling through the movie and the screenshots, I just couldn't stop thinking that too.
Oh, sorry. I hope I didn't ruin it for anyone. But it was the first thing that came to my head, and I said it out loud.
I will say that the cast did a good job. The cast themselves were these characters, and this feel was so right. Because I guess Matthew Little talked about one of the scenes where they were doing different shots, right? They do coverage shots facing one direction, they do coverage shots facing the other. They do the group shot. In the middle of all this taking, it's going to take all day. She took her shirt off. So, of course, all the nerds are completely distracted and whatever because she just had her shirt off. So, needless to say, their performances are significantly different in different scenes because of what things that she would do. So, it is kind of fun. This is a movie also has sort of like that fun backstory of being made as well. Like I said, they spent more time learning how to rollerblade than they did on even like some of the hacking stuff.
So I know that tech wasn't your game, ARWYN, but did it have like the mid 90s feel? Did it feel like, oh yeah, I remember some of this, or I remember that, or like did you have any moments where you had like callbacks to like maybe the mid to late 90s and even just in the fashion or just the way they talked or any of that, but outside of the tech?
Yeah, I think mainly it was the individuality of them that, again, they didn't dress like one big, like the producers dressed them. They dressed like people actually dressed.
Yep.
And even though it was, it was a quote unquote grittier scene with them all, with everything that was involved and everything they were going through, that I was not involved in that kind of tech culture or anything, but I knew people who were. We didn't talk about it, but I just knew that I knew they were. And yeah, so it was, it was the norm. It was really the norm, and it was the up and coming. I mean, these kids were being introduced to this technology, and they just claimed it as their own, and it put a stamp, and it actually changed. I think it shifted our culture in a different way. That, had they not taken that stance that this is ours, who knows what we'd have today. So yeah, it did hit me on the feels for that. And that's why I say this is a little bit of a time capsule for that time. And I think it's a movie worth seeing if you kind of want to look at that part of life in the 90s.
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up that I couldn't believe I forgot until now. One other, iconic moment out of this movie that became a touchstone of pop culture. You wouldn't download a card. It's the music from this movie they use for those commercials.
Oh, all right, okay. The music I think is great throughout the whole movie. Actually, the soundtrack has got an identity in and of itself.
I was sitting, I was kind of laying in bed watching it, and I started seeing that font when Zero Cool and Angelina Jolie are doing their little hacker battle, and I'm like, wait a minute. I turned the volume up. I'm like, I'm sitting up in bed. Wait a minute. That's where that came from.
Ironcaster zeroed in on something that he knows that from the 90s, from the Iron Tyke era.
You couldn't start a DVD without seeing that video.
Okay, well, cool. It's a fun one.
And then, ironically, now in the current day, you can just 3D print this stuff. So yes, you would in fact download a car.
Download a car. All right, folks. Well, you guys in chat are amazing. You guys, I couldn't keep up with all the cool stuff in chat, so make sure you guys do the replay and catch up with some of those details if you missed anything. ARWYN, thanks for hanging out with us and watching this crazy movie with us.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time watching the movie and hanging out with y'all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's always fun. Always fun. What do you got coming up this week besides you got some Friday? We're hanging out with that guy on the top row on Friday, right?
Yes, yeah. Friday mornings on Loki's, and then I think back to Friday night. I think. Don't quote me on that because there's things going on. I don't want to speak for.
I'm sure if ARWYN wants to find a way to get on whatever we have going on Friday, I'm sure she can.
Yeah. So.
All right. Sounds good. Ironcaster, you my friend. You've been busy, and tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you, my friend.
Here in about an hour, I'll be on with T-shirt historian for our little Tuesday with Geeks, where we have on Stewart of Loading Crew Crafts to talk about his RPG book, The Waifu Handbook.
The Waifu Handbook. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a handbook for waifus or?
Oh yeah, for like 5e. Because like eventually you're like, someone's gonna say, I want like this. Let's put in some cat girls. Let's give some stats for them. Let's make a class around this so you have like the battle, the way of the housewife monk. It sounds dumb when I try to explain it, but it's actually a really like well thought out book.
You broke my brain a little bit with that. I didn't know exactly how to say. So, all right, there we go.
Ironcaster, ladies and gentlemen.
Ironcaster, that's it. Iron Tyke. Hashtag Iron Tyke. There you go. SQUEEKA, thanks for hanging out and doing a great recommendation and fun time.
Well, thanks for having me. It was great to hang out with you guys. It was so awesome to hang out with you, ARWYN. I love your face.
Oh, I love you too, SQUEEKA.
And so yeah, I love this movie. It's a great movie. So thanks for letting me join y'all and hang out and chill out and talk about the weird nerd. Let me nerd out a little bit. Appreciate that.
So next week we're doing Predator. Have you seen Predator?
Nope.
Oh my gosh. First time watching Predator, folks. You do not want to miss that. Loki, my friend. We're going to break our bubble on Predator.
Am I going to cry?
Get to the chopper. No.
I don't think you're going to cry. Time to bleed. But you know what? You might be really attached to Billy. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Billy!
Oh, man. That's so
Billy was dumb.
A lot of them were dumb.
Payback time. I got to bleed. Sorry. Stick around. Right, so I can't help it. It just comes out. Don't stop.
Is that another one of those quotes that's going to be at the end of the movie, Loki?
No, this is all throughout the movie. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
We can kill it.
Oh my god!
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
Chopper.
Yep.
Okay. YouTube talk. What's the week ahead look like, my friend?
We'll do something positive. I know we're gonna do something positive tomorrow. I try and balance everything out. God help me in talking about billion-dollar corporations that are like, we want nothing but your money. We don't need your respect. We don't need you to like the things we buy from us, but you will give us your money. That was, it was fun to absolutely trash them and call them out on their shit, but We're going to talk about something positive tomorrow. And
The wall's
there
closed.
will be surprises. So there will not be a comic book roundtable tomorrow because I'll be out. There won't be a Adega show on Thursday night, but I'm pretty sure we can get something going on a couple of channels on Friday. So
all right, that's good. That's real good. So
Well, I'll be out of town this Friday, so if I won't be able to join your Friday show.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I need after September. I need a 4-day weekend, and I'm gonna have one. So
yeah, no.
peace out, y'all.
Well, you'll be happy you watch Predator too, because it'll make you happy. It's fun.
Oh, Predator 1.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. I don't understand what is your point of you bringing that up.
okay, but he kind of does have to say that because there's a movie called Predators, and there's a movie called The Predator.
Oh, good
and
point.
So which one am I watching?
The Arnold, the original.
Arnold,
Predator.
1980s, 1986, 1987, whatever it was.
Got it.
Predator
Don't watch
with
the second
Arnold
one.
Schwarzenegger. Well, you can if you want to.
Is it any good? Is it worth
It's
it?
got Danny Glover in it, and it happens in Los Angeles. This happens in like Brazil. The first one's in like Brazil or Colombia or South
Let's
America.
focus on the
or
first
whatever.
one, and then we can discuss how and why the rest of them can be discussed accordingly. So the fall off,
Does
the fall off in the
Pops not like
Predator-verse,
Predator 2?
it's just meh for me. It's just meh. There's a whole bunch of mehs in the Predators. It's like the fall off's not as traumatic as the Alien franchise, like Alien Resurrection and stuff like, oh dear Lord. But in the Predator-verse, it's like, oh, they're just dumb. They're just
Guess
all
who's back?
yeah, it's just all dust, bland, just yeah. So all right, so I wanted to get chat's input as well, but you guys, so I guess looking at briefly talking about it, since we don't have something scheduled for the very last week of October, we actually may be doing more of a show and tell to sell stream where we actually are looking kind of almost like an online, not necessarily an auction, just stuff for sale, but also like show and tell time too, because we both have some stuff that we'd like to move and get ahead of the holidays on and that kind of thing. So I wanted your guys' thoughts and feedback on that. So feel free to leave those in comments and message us accordingly and that kind of thing, and see what you guys think. I think it'd be kind of a fun time. We could do this for our hour and a half, and if it's still going strong, people want to do it, we could take a little. One of us could take a pause while the other one eats and whatever, and keep going. Because I know we both have a lot of stuff that we would like to rehome. Is that a good way to look at it, Loki? We like to rehome some stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got a whole bunch of Ninja Turtles that need rehoming.
My multitude of comic book show events here have been constantly canceled and delayed, especially with the hurricane now. So I lost another weekend event this coming weekend. So it's like I still have boxes and boxes of stuff that needs to move. Mrs. Pops is looking at me like, hey, still a lot of stuff in the hallway right there. What are we doing here? Well, so keep that in mind.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know. I am. Stuff sells. It's just so slow. But no, it's been good. Revisiting Hackers. Thanks for this, SQUEEKA and Loki making this happen, because you guys kind of came together, and ARWYN, they took advantage of you because you admitted you never even heard of it. Next thing you know, we drug you with a rope, tied you down for a talk hard time.
Not a problem. It was fun. Like I said, I enjoyed both the movie and the company. So thank y'all very much.
We're always welcome to have you back. So feel free to consider that. So,
all right.
But folks, you guys out there, you be blessed. Talk hard. Till next time. I am Pops. Take care, everybody.